friends, it is time to meet the man, the myth, the legend behind Crawler Innovations. So without further ado,
greetings. I'm Edmundo from Crawler Innovations. Hop opportunity to just have a video to say thank you, tell you about our company. Crawler Innovations was started in 2009, October of 2009. It has always been a Texas-made company. Our raw material is basically DuPont, and it's machined with another large manufacturer here, and then brought down into smaller bits, and we final machine it to the customer specs based on what they're ordering. So that's another reason why you don't see a large stockpile of our stuff, is because everything's made to order. And it also helps us to keep our designs kind of tight. You know, we can keep the quality control up. We can understand when problems or changes, such as the beadlock wheels. You know, it used to be that the beadlock wheels were real narrow. Well, now they're getting wider, and so obviously you've got to make adjustments in how you machine things to make stuff work. So we do that here at our property. But yeah, I appreciate your business. I appreciate your interest in our products. You know, we look forward to making sure that you've got the best tire foam inserts in your vehicle, so that you're in the best position when you go out to a competition to make yourself look good and put on your best performance. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win, but guaranteed you're going to be a contender. And that's one of the things our products are about, is making sure that it's something that's beneficial, something that's actually going to help you, something that we can give you support on, help you tuning. And, you know, we want to see you win. You know, we're a winning company, and that's only because we've had great customer support and loyalty for over 16 years. So I'm very grateful for that. It's a humble feeling, because I didn't expect to ever start or own or maintain a company like this. It's a feat, and I'm grateful for it. And without you, we wouldn't exist. This wouldn't be possible. I work with my son, so it's a father-son company. You know, there's a lot of very interesting things we've just kind of not shared so much with the public, but, you know, life's changing, and, you know, the internet makes things open, and so we're adjusting. And so that's part of the reason too for stepping forward and starting to make these types of videos. One shot wonders. Nothing's a perfect take, but life isn't perfect either. It's how you're going to respond. And so we want to respond by making sure that we're taking care of you as customers, making sure that we're still viable and, you know, winning. And that's really what it comes about for most people. If you're competing, you want to win. And then for the other people that are out, just going out with the homies and having an afternoon, they still want to have fun and do their best. And so those products shine in those opportunities as well. So, because all of this stuff is designed to make for performance. Whereas when you buy a factory tire, it's going to come with just a factory foam. It's not set up for your weight or the weight of your vehicle, you know, the height of your tire, the size of your rim, and then your intended usage, because every place is different. You know, the terrain varies across the country, and what works in one area is not going to work in another. So it is important to understand what works in your area and how to maintain that performance too when you travel. So it's one of the things Crawler Innovations is here for, and we're going to continue to share more information. Thank you for this time.
so what was it about RC crawling and crawling in general that brought you to where you are today?
What got me started was a move to Tyler from California, and local hobby store, Wings and Wheels Hobbies, had a few local individuals that were already modifying tracks as cars, as well as the RC crawling forum was already up and running. And so I was already beginning to work on that forum in 2006. And what I began to learn was that, you know, there wasn't an RC crawling kit. You know, there wasn't any companies making anything. So to make something at that time, or to build, whether it was a scale crawler or whether it was like a competition, you know, more robotic, now they call it crawler. So for me, it was Tamiya TLT axles, which are actually 1/18 scale, but then you can JB weld the the diff gears lock it. And then there were other companies that started to make parts for it. And then there were other individuals. Rain RC in Utah was one where they were making like TVP plates so that it had the skid plate. And the popular thing at the time was the Traxxas Stampede transmission. To take the transmission out of that, and then JB Weld it as well, and that was now your center transmission going down to your drive axles, and at least you had a basic crawler to start with. And so I really enjoyed the fact that everything had to be made at that time. I enjoyed that anytime you did go meet with somebody, every single car was different. Like nobody, even if they were buying the same chassis, they still assembled it differently in some way. Something about it was different. You know, there was nothing. And so it grew from there because there was just that. And then the other thing that I really drew me to RC rock crawling was the fact that you could go anywhere, do anything. You were no longer tied to a track fee. You were no longer tied to a membership. It was like, you know, this little car would go on any terrain, so you could bring it to, you know, a family picnic. You could bring it to work on your lunch hour. You could take it to the state park. You could just, you know, you could do anything with it. And that was so different prior to anything else, especially, you know, it's 2025 now, but in 2006, 2007, it was still a lot of the nitro monster trucks. That stuff was kind of fading out, but it was still the bashers, and a lot of that genre was really the driving force, you know, paying bills at hobby stores. So crawlers especially, there was just no attention to it. None at all.
What's your main focus? What's your main product, and just where have you gone with that?
Well, the main product is definitely the tire foam inserts, and the tire foam inserts grew honestly from in 2007. I started, again, I was already on the RC crawler forum, and in the tire and wheel section, there were people from really around the country, but also a couple people around the world that were taking tires and then it cut and shut. So they would cut open a perfectly good tire and basically reform it and CA glue it back together and then they made a custom crawler tire. And because there was nobody making crawler tires at that time either, you know. And if you wanted a scale pattern, you had to either, you know, if you wanted to enlarge it bigger, or if you needed to make it smaller. I mean, somebody that had some skill to cut that down and kind of imagine where the cut lines needed to be to create the right shape. So I built a following on RC Crawler and started doing tires for people from around the world that were after specific sizes and whatnot. And many of them were asking, you know, well, what are you using for foams? You know, what at the time it was just Michael's, you know, Hobby Lobby, Walmart. It was just cobbling together foam based on whatever I could find. And, most of the time, you know, eight out of 10 times, those people would still go, well, just, you know what, send me what you have. You know, whatever you're making is better than what I'm going to come up with, because at least you've got more experience and you made the tires. And so that went on probably from 2007, 2008, going into 2009. In that summer of 2009 is when I had a big change in my life, we'll just say. And things were shifting and restructuring. And so I started to take it to heart about the tire foam inserts. And I tried different companies, and it wasn't, you know, it must have sounded like a ludicrous idea, because, you know, the foam company that I ended up working with in Tyler, it took 3 different phone conversations and 3 different rejections before finally the third time they were like, okay, we'll give you half an hour tomorrow. Come in, show us what you got. And so I did, brought in the laptop, brought in some of my crawlers, brought in the tires on, and by the time we left, it was the first order for double deuce foams. And so that was how that's how the company really started. And it's grown from there ever since. A lot of it being word of mouth, and really I think it's got more to do with the performance of the actual product than anything else, because, you know, people win with our products, and, you know, everybody wants to run what the winners are running. And we've spent years. I mean, this you're not the shelving unit with all the RCs don't even fit into this picture frame. There's more stuff. Plus, we have our own tracks. We have so many other things and other genres of RC that we're involved with that we've not really shared over the last 16 years, because it's been more of a focus of just really running a business and then keeping a family together, working, being, every family has its issues. And as the leader, I got to take care of it. I've got to make sure that I'm right, and then, go through each member accordingly. And so, especially when I work with my son and we live together, and then we work out of the home that we live in on the property. I mean, you talk about some special circumstances and relationships, because it takes a lot of loving kindness and patience to work through any relationship. It doesn't matter what it is, but when you really add in those dynamics, it creates pressure. The pressure creates diamonds, and that, we just have to work at it one thing at a time. So, the way the company is and where we've come was never, it wasn't like I sat down and like, I'm going to do this. It was just honestly, a labor of love and a tremendous blessing and opportunity to be able to walk it out. So I'm thankful for it. And that's too why I'm opening up my heart at this time to share more of, my passion. And because 16 years still doing the same thing, I'm definitely good at what we do. But at the same time, it's, you don't get there unless you really have a passion for it, because there's so many times where you could burn out, or so many times where the haters are in your ear, and, there's no lack of appreciation, or there's no appreciation, and the lack of appreciation can get to a person. I fought hard the entire time to keep all of our products made in the United States, primarily made in Texas, and yet they were made and machined by East Texans, and people here didn't even want to support them. They didn't even want to buy their own products. They'd rather go and buy these other inserts that don't even work. They weigh more than what we, whether it's the 3D printed or the silicone or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They weigh more than what our products weigh. So if you're putting that weight in that tire, now that you've got to spin all that weight. And then on top of that, I've been playing with these foams or those inserts. They don't work like ours. They don't do what we do. There's a reason we're winning and those things don't. And most people think that stuff is the way to go, thinking that, their buddy told them about it. Yet, does your buddy have any experience? I'm standing on championships. Seriously, whether I won them or not, my products are standing on world championships. You don't get there without support from the customer base, feedback from the customer base. Because if you guys don't communicate with me or call, I know there's people that are going to watch the video that have already called and had conversations with me, and I appreciate it. I'm listening to what you're saying, because that's how we know, we got to make changes. We got to widen these foams, or we've got to do this or whatever, because now there's a new tire out, or there's a new rim or whatever. RC, no matter what, is always about trends. Everything's got some sort of a wave that comes, and what's that wave do? Heats at peak, crashes, goes back out. What's the next thing? It just is what it is. But then there's certain products that just don't change, motors, servos, tire foam inserts. You need them because there's so many different levels at which the cars weigh and what they're competing to do, because in full size motorsports, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's competition rock crawling, whether it's competition drifting, whether it's NASCAR. The final thing that they are monitoring all the time, down to the time the car leaves, is air pressure. Well, what is air pressure? Air pressure in this RC car is going to be managed by the tire foam insert. That is the best way to do it. Vent the tire, allow the foam to do all the work, and make sure that you've got the matching foam for your tire, for your weight, for your intended usage. It's a winning combination. So,
you're good old Ezra in the background there.
Yep, guard dog doing work.
Absolutely, good at his job. I definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate the insight. You know, you've grown something beautiful. You've been in a position to give back to the community that you're obviously passionate about. And I just greatly appreciate it. We're going to skip over now and just show the day's events. We had a lot of fun today crawling in the big forerunner, going around the mountains. It was a blast for sure.
Good times, definitely. And thank you for your support. Thank you for watching these videos. Greetings. I'm Edmundo from Crawler Innovations. And happy Memorial Day weekend to everyone. And we're just headed to Barnwell Mountain in Gilmer, and we're leaving Mary's after getting some horchata and some excellent food. So if you want good food, this is definitely the place in town to come and get it at. We're headed back to the truck and trailer. We'll go ahead and show you the forerunner, and we're not far from the mountain now. Peace. We've arrived at Barnwell Mountain now. As you can see right here, this is at the top of the mountain. When a person comes in, this is a large rock garden that is available to the public for RC use, and it's just a basic $5 fee for the entire day. So just to give you an idea, that's a TRX4, Traxxas TRX4 10 scale for scale of how big this rock garden is. And to be honest, there's trails that descend from this area throughout the mountain. So if you're either willing to walk, Chaos Canyon is walking distance, and that is a shaded area with all days worth of rock. Honestly, it's a wonderful location. It's one of our favorite places to rock crawl on the mountain when we come here. We've used this rock garden a lot, and what happens with the rock garden is over time, as more and more one-to-ones drive on it, the rocks kind of flatten out and spread out, but they tend to connect. So there's plenty of areas, whether it's a 24 scale or a 6 scale, there's lines here for you to enjoy. And we're just about to unfasten the 1985 Toyota 4Runner and go hit some trails. We can talk about this some more, but I don't know what well, the phone overheated, so we're making do. Got the 4Runner all unloaded, so we're gonna go hit some trails, and we'll post up some more shorts in a little bit. Thanks for your interest.